it's awesome to meet you. I'm
Likewise,
honored.
Nancy. Thanks for taking the time, and it's a pleasure.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Sash.
Very
Hi,
good.
Gaia. How are you? Thank you.
Michael, Nancy is the chancellor of our university. Nancy, how many students do we have now, registered students now to the New Earth University?
We have approximately 25,000 in the student body worldwide, and growing a little bit every day. We're doing well. In fact, we're bringing in a wonderful new faculty. Dr. Atusha Sasha is going to be joining us.
Atusha Madawi.
Yes.
Very brilliant woman, very brilliant woman.
I'm so excited. Anyway, so just off a big call with her recently. So anyway, yeah, we're doing well, and we are new paradigm unlearning and then relearning, Michael. Because as you know, education is totally corrupt, it's criminal. Yeah, so this is my, shall I say, my swan song, my raison d'etre in my younger years, helping to champion this forward.
Nancy, yeah. Michael, we're just discussing kind of some different scenarios here. I wanted you to listen in on this. Michael, okay. Nancy is also founding trustee with the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, which is really the piece that connects to this meeting. So two small items I just want to touch on, Michael, for your edification before anything else. I'll just share my screen momentarily. And this is just to underscore something into your mind's eye that is absolutely solid, because it's going to be of tremendous consequence with the way the world is shifting. I'm sure you know, we have a great deal of knowledge about Vanguard technology. It's been very much central my wheelhouse for over 20 years now, and is the reason why I was brought in as a Director General at the UN even 14, 15 years ago. But this year, these rather enigmatic looking objects are just to actually disguise, artfully disguise as sculptural art, what's going on the inside. But look to the one on the right, because that's actually the correct scale. 1.2 meters in length and 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters in girth. And that is a magneto motor. We're just going through the final lab testing this month. We've been running the motor at full throttle. It's completely silent. It's a magnetic motor. There is no noise to it. You can pick it up with two arms. It'll run 10 kilowatts for 10 years before magnets need to be changed. We can dial it up to 20, 30, or 40 kilowatts with not much difficulty, or we could simply daisy chain these interesting looking things, create a megawatt, gigawatt, whatever the hell. Point is, the baseline here is that we can manufacture one of these 10 kilowatt limitless power generators for less than 2,000 euros, which I think is $2,500 to $3,000 thereabouts. So that's something which we're pushing into local manufacture in Romania, near my base camp out there. We reckon we can put out 3,000 a month there with a limited infrastructure, but we could dial that up quickly. And I'm talking to people here in the US. I think I found the partners to be able to franchise manufacture here. Really straightforward stuff. Beautiful, very elegant engineering, and definitely of huge consequence to where the world is going. There's that piece, and the second piece was, which you may know a bit about, but I'll just again share momentarily. How do I share my screen? I do that, and I do that. Okay. This here, how do I do this? Share screen. This stuff is frequency technology that I'm dealing with from the Russian space program. These are very small microcomputers that have thousands of presets inside them. They do voice diagnostic. You speak into the thing, it diagnoses what's wrong with you, creates the counterpoint frequencies, and creates a plasma bubble. You can build them into beds, into bedrooms, into classrooms, into anything. Just magnificent technology. And this here is the most important for me right now. It's the New Earth Pharmacy. And I'm controlling at this stage the 5 patents connected to this protein extraction technology, which is able to, in simple terms, grow the antigens to every disease known to man in 43 days. So it doesn't matter what the disease is. We've already got the so-called spike protein neutralizer formula and the weaponized E. coli neutralizing formula. We've already in full production there. I've got them onto the US soil and they're in fulfillment at the moment, which is really good news. Next, I'm lighting up Alzheimer's. Then slowly we're making our way through the 50 odd diseases that we've designated that afflict humanity. So we know that we can grow the antigens to Alzheimer's in 43 days with a limited investment, which I'll be making. Like I said, I'm the only investor so far in this company, and I'm controlling pretty much where it goes. I just need to get it moving as quickly as possible and in a sense into as many trusted hands as possible, because it's unstoppable. 43 days to grow the antigens using the special technique, and it's completely biodynamic and non-synthetic, 100%. Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, flesh-eating streptococcus, we've actually already created that one, and the multiple drug-resistant, there's 16 different pathogenic bacterial strains that are killing tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people every year in hospitals. The MRSA superbugs are out of control. It's actually what's killing most people after surgery. It's insane, and no one's talking about it. But we've got the full spectrum wound infection serums, creams, foams, and what have you, and microbial powders. Within days, we literally take necrosis, flesh-eating streptococcus within 72 hours. We terminate it, and the healing is palpable. You can see it happening within days and hours. It's unbelievable technology. We've got that, totally controlling it, and I just wanted you to know about that in case there's any thoughts that you have. But if the world does go into that weird kind of Kafka lockdown, weird shit scenario, and we've got a secure platform, courtesy of you and your infrastructure, then franchising know-how, knowledge transfer, and tech, incredibly important element. So I'll leave it at Dream is just sitting in to oversight here on my behalf. Tess is here because she's involved in the indigenous thing, and that's collating all those First Nation peoples now and bringing them forward to be able to get them lined up to give testimony in a tribunal setting. The virtual court is the piece that we're looking to do and kick off in midsummer. And Nancy's with the ITNJ as the trustee. So I wanted to just hear your thoughts further about where the integration might be for us to be able to dovetail into your platform to conduct the virtual tribunals and just put our branding through under your umbrella.
Okay. Yeah. So there are, let me just leave this here for a second. There are a couple different pieces to what you just talked about. One was, and I'm jumping on clear.co.com, and one of them is related to health. So you can kind of see here around health, and then you can see here around energy. These are ecosystems. So these are all different Clear companies that are focused on decentralized technologies, of which you just talked about with the magnetics, which is really, really similar to the Clear energy stuff and then the Clear health. And really they tie when you look at, like, let's look at Clear health per se. So this is actually similar titles, but you actually have productized it. But if you dig into documents like this, through how systems work that humanity understand, I think it plugs this, and that's probably why you are bringing that particular topic up around health. And then to energy, it's a similar type offering, whereas this technology, 22 issued patents on it today. And it's really simple. It uses the same type of ambient power generation, and it creates massive amounts of power, but at the same time, it doesn't create any heat. So I'll bet you it uses Bose-Einstein's condensates as part of it, and you can pull power from it. Like we've seen tungsten incinerated in room temperature or at room temperature in real time, which is like almost unmeasurable amount of power that humanity currently works off of. But this technology is open, it's free. Some of the reasons to go through the patent process is through that, so closed source companies can't take it and then productize it. So all of humanity will actually have it. But these are future companies, you know, that the Clear companies focus on. If something were to go sideways in society, 2024, Clear companies has already built things around communication, around storage, around bringing folks together. And then there's this abundance around growing as well, which is another area that we focus on. And I don't know if you know this, but since 2005, we focused on one goal per year and all of the different ecosystems. So the different locations of the different companies, which are all around the world, basically focus. But we would be honored to dig in more and to understand more about those two technologies that you just brought up. It's primarily futuristic for kind of the goals and objectives. Right now, we're really focused on how do decentralized systems get adopted by main indigenous cultures. So not big countries that have already done their land grabs, but the countries, the people and the tribes and the cultures that have been forgotten or oppressed or raped or pillaged or sterilized or vaccinated, or you know the drill. So I hope this fits with what you were thinking, does it?
Very good. Yes, indeed. So with the piece on justice, communications, justice, that kind of interfacing, if we're going to galvanize indigenous testaments from thousands of people all around the world, which platform would we be galvanizing them through, and how would
It
that
ties to the software side of it. So if you go to clear.software, these are the technologies that can basically be used by different parts of Zoom technology today. And actually, I'm going to back up even further and go back over to that Clear ecosystem, how it compares to existing competition, as we put it. So there is that use the patent system and the venture capital and the IPOs and all that to build their environment. So that is big centralized companies versus open decentralized. So we're focused on open and decentralized. Apple is one of them. So you can see the Apple products, you can see the Clear products, how they're focused on it. And it literally, what we've done is, instead of having the centralized approaches, so search has already been done, you know, with DuckDuckGo and others. They're, again, open source, but in many realms, they've actually literally pulled out parts and pieces of it and then closed it up, because I don't know if people understand that, but there's a relationship there. But I won't get too far into the details, but these are the companies that we compete with, which is big tech, technology side, all the heads and years and budgets and compared to what we've done. And then the product that you're particularly talking about is basically, it's a combination of Zoom, but it also ties to calendars and contacts, and then it ties to an ability to actually have multiple people come together, kind of like how we are today, but they can actually break out into other rooms and do it in an approach that is actually private. So not only contacts or tasks or channels or conferences. So this is an example of the actual conferencing technology, but you can actually, you can do things. For instance, I'll pull up, I'm going to pull up the digital world. And when you go into the digital world, one of the services that you can see in here is actually dispute resolution. And when you dig into dispute resolution, and they can actually go and create a type of case, whether it's an individual case, and it's private or public. They can create a organizational case. So this is like an individual to an organization or a company or a trust, or they can create a class action case. So multiple people that are coming together, and it's not in the existing legal framework that humanity wants to make you think that is the only way to get things solved, with the black robes on the benches and blah, 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 with common law. But it uses a law system that is for the future, that's based on using technology and really encryption keys. So anybody can basically say, I've got a claim, but they can do it anonymously, and they can be paid anonymously depending on how it actually goes forth. But there's not judges or rulers in this ecosystem. It works off of, you've got councils, and like, let's say there's a legal counsel, and then let's say that you've got different arbitrators. So this is the type of arbitrating conference technology that you would have. I don't know if you can see this real well. But you'd have people come into a conference like this, and then you'd have different arbitrators that would be selected that could actually help them. These are not judges. These are people that have been in the arbitration world for decades and decades, and you can pull in other people. Let's say there's a jurisdiction within the Ute Council, and it's really important to have a Ute Council be what is actually arbitrating over a Ute-based jurisdiction. So that's an example of how, it's just technology that is being used, but you have party A with party B and party C that comes in to try to mediate or arbitrate. If that mediation is not successful, then it goes up to a legal counsel within whatever jurisdiction. I'll give you an example, and I'll just kind of click through as fast as I can. So let's go through Hawaiian Life, which is a very serious and important part of, what's a good way to really understand this? Let me back up before I do that. So there's different nations that we have, again, met with 19 different countries in the Pacific over the last 15 months, and 4 or 5 of them are actually rolling out the technologies as a core part of their culture, their country, or their kingdom. And in this case, the Hawaiian Kingdom is rolling it out. They only have 3 councils, but some of the services they offer are actually dispute resolution type services. And so when you dig into it, the councils are the ones that would actually be escalated if the actual individuals or mediation process wasn't working. It's not a Supreme Court or a federal court or a state court or Providence court. It basically is built based upon dispute resolution within that jurisdiction that people actually choose to be a part of. So it's not, I'm a citizen because of where I'm born, and therefore the law is what I'm pushed into. No, it's, I can choose to be a part of a certain environment as a national or a member, and then, or some people look at it as a type of citizenship. That's a type of slavery as well. But literally what it does is it enables an individual to self-select the jurisdiction that they want to live in, whether it's physically or digitally or a combination of the both. And they can get their driver's license, they can get their birth certificates, they can get, and I'll go through them real quick right here. So let's say you wanted to register a vehicle and a license plate. So you actually get a license plate to a vehicle that you've registered, that's an asset that you actually own based upon your ability to actually license and register in a jurisdiction that you choose, instead of being forced to go and license and register in jurisdictions that you're like, I don't want to be taxed by that. I don't want to conform to that. I don't agree with this or this and this. As you know, many counties throughout the United States and provinces through Canada and Australia are standing up and saying, the people are saying, these environments, we don't believe you. We don't recognize you as a leader. We want to actually have a different jurisdiction. And these types of environments are actually creating that for them. But in a world where disputes can still be, like, let's say that there's a land management, let's say a property line was off. One could register and say, hey, this property, I as an individual, and I can actually show you how this beautiful system works. So literally what I'll do is I'll just say, log in real fast. I'm going to grab a phone, any Apple phone, any Clear phone. In many of the Clear phones, it's actually built in with, and it also gives you other apps such as contacts, calendars, messagings. It's all synchronized to the same login. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing a scanner on my phone through Clear Life or Hawaiian Life. By the way, you can download Hawaiian Life inside of any kind of system today, whether it's in Google. We'll try and get rid of this. And then you can log in and you can actually say, well, I want to go and license maybe an automobile, or maybe I want to vote, or maybe I want to register a vehicle, or maybe I want to register an asset. So these are types of systems. This is a very small way to do it within the Hawaiian Kingdom. Or maybe I want to start a business. So here you can kind of see, I want to start a different type of business, maybe a trust that's going to hold a vehicle, or a trust that's going to hold land. I want to register in different parts of the world. And the way that the identity validation actually occurs is through a simple scan, just like this. There are no username and passwords. The individual is actually their identity. They were given 12 words when they downloaded whatever application brought them there. And again, it's not in, it might be in the digital world. It might be in the Hawaiian world. It might be in, in the Kingdom of Hawaii. It might be with, let's look at this one real fast. You know, this particular one is with Tuvalu, a whole nother conversation there. This particular one, which is New Zealand, so the indigenous New Zealand standing up. This was one that I was excited to show you today because I believe that it's time. The Kingdom of Indonesia. Sasha, you live there, you understand it, you love it. There's really an approach to be able to enable ecosystems. For instance, Indonesia, they understand a lot of the core technology underneath this. From the universities, teach ClearOS Server in their universities. They've built documentation. They've built massive, I'll pull up ClearOS Indonesia. You can kind of see these are applications or documentation or user guides. For instance, this user guide was created by ClearOS to be taught inside of universities, and there's massive nodes that are already run within that environment. So it's not just the phones, but the back-end nodes and infrastructure. And you'll find there's years and years and years of work just on Indonesia in these ecosystems. And so the point that I'm saying is it's time with your connections and relationships to look at the Kingdom of Indonesia as one of the jurisdictions for these types of systems to be stood up. So just like I logged into the Hawaiian Kingdom, or I can log into the digital world. So I'll literally just say, and I'll show you. And the reasons I'm digging into systems so much is because you need to enable your world with the same type of capability. It's not just how do you create a dispute resolution system and a tribal, can actually set the record, but it's what do you do after that? How does land get reconciled? How does it get set up the correct way? How does it get held the right way? How do payments get to the right people if there's payouts? For instance, Phil Lane Jr. got hundreds of millions of dollars from the Canadian government for breaches of humanity rights, what they did to steal children, to rape children, to kill children. And literally there was payouts that went there, but how do we know who got paid or what they got paid? In the digital world, look at all of these different types of things you can do, from getting married to getting licensed, to having your identity, your data, your photos, your disputes, all of it. Like I could actually create a class action lawsuit, like literally, again, different types of capabilities. You can get married and divorced within this ecosystem, but you can basically create disputes that can then hold ecosystems accountable. And what it's doing is it's using what we call the blockchain, which is really not just about Bitcoin and value and all these different things with what people talk about with crypto, but it's a timestamp. It's a genealogical stamp that proves on multiple different nodes and infrastructure, kind of like how these systems work here. It proves that a transaction or some, so let's say a class action lawsuit started between, the Canadian government and the many tribes that were impacted there. And then let's say it was actually resolved and paid out, actually validate that through watching or registering one of these class actions. So the simple answer to your question is you would actually log in, create a case, maybe a class action suit, and then you would use the technologies that I just showed you over here, whether it's, hold on just a quick second. Hello, beautiful. I'm on a call. Can I call you back? Okay, bye. That's my mother-in-law. I hate saying, I don't know how long she's going to be with us, so I just love hearing her voice. So the point is this technology it's free. Like people, it's so free that a lot of the tech we probably should have monetized in a different way. But there are hundreds of thousands of people and millions of lines of code that have gone into building this different technology. And as a matter of fact, one of the gentlemen spent $10+ million of his own months before he died. He gave all of it to this cause. This is not something where it's commercialized, it's productized, it's for money. It is for the cause that you're talking about. How do we hold people accountable? How do we do it on grounds that are true and correct grounds that are for sovereign ecosystems where they can leapfrog over the current systems? Today you set up this call based upon Zoom. That's because everybody knows and understands the technology. But if there was equal technology where people could own their own data, they could own their own voice transcripts, they could own their own recordings, would you want to do that? The simple answer is yes. So this is a good example of the technology that would be used. There's many different understandings with how it works. You know, you and I have actually had calls within this ecosystem, but the goal would be to set up the tribunals and accountability systems based upon these types of proceedings and cases. And we could even build one specifically for you, or we could build it within one of the countries that you're already used to, like the Kingdom of Indonesia, and set it up in that jurisdiction. But you really got to think through, what jurisdiction do you want it in? Do you just want it in the digital world, which is the whole earth as far as the jurisdiction? Or do you want it in a particular country that is rooted to other councils that if it does get contested, that if it goes up, you have council members that will actually be trusted and accountable for truth and right. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, it does. But it's a non-prosecutorial court.
Okay.
So this is just, again, judicial inquiry. So we are going in, digging it, and bringing forth the testimonials and broadcasting to the world. So the truth shall set us free, kind of thing. So the digital sphere is definitely the place to go. I wouldn't want to tether it to any corporate jurisdiction. So indeed, the digital sphere is the correct place for that.
Okay. So what you're saying is run it within the digital world. So keep it here.
And then lobby the extant corporate nation states to accede, acknowledge, and recognize formally through multilateral treaty. So once we start to galvanize those testimonials, because they'll be coming in most often than not from the paramount chiefs, from the kings, the queens, the sultans, the rajas. So in a way, we can force the corporatocracy to acknowledge and accede and recognize formally, and then tether that digital sphere into jurisdictions.
Let me throw this out there just for a second and kind of just brainstorm with you. Imagine an ecosystem called the Oceanic Coalition, which is a combination of all of these different kingdoms, nation states, counties, countries, communities, led by yourself, Phil Lane, and many other partners that are just amazing partners. So you've got, you know, some of the stuff that you're doing with New Wealth. You've got, you know, the digital world is just one partner in this ecosystem. You've got what John is doing. You've got all these different ecosystems and partners that come together to see all these different kingdoms start using these systems and then creating the treaties that would actually tie them together based upon three different elements: sea law, land law, and air law. Does this resonate with you? Does it feel right with you?
Yeah, no, very, very good. Very good. Carry on.
So that's basically it. So we focus within decentralized ecosystems that are sovereign, going from the north to the south with the eagle and the condor that Phil's already been dedicating his life to. We go east to west and understand what you've been doing in Asia. We identify the different realms. You focus on them. You imagine another color in here, and you actually started pulling those different ecosystems into this coalition. This coalition is owned by no one, controlled by no one other than voice. So when they log in, they could do the same thing that you do within the digital world or within even other jurisdictions. And they could even go across different ecosystems. So you could literally, for instance, these guys here run pieces of it. But I hope this is making sense where this futuristic, by the way, this Oceanic Coalition is just initial stages. It's not live yet. It's in the formation process. And this is where someone like yourself or Phil or these different kingdoms and nations and countries could actually get involved and participate as much or as little as they wanted to. But if they're using the technology, they don't need to be controlled by central banks, by world banks, by Federal Reserve banks of other countries, by international monetary funds. They don't have to, they literally can transact, financially transact, legally transact, not just with asset ownership, but with their identity and who they are at the core fabric. And think about this, they can actually take the sovereign lands that they own. And it's not just lands, but it's what's under the land, the minerals, the rights, the assets. For instance, there are many different parts of the world, lithium ion phosphate batteries, or even magnetic materials like going to create the device that you showed us at the beginning. They're needed. The materials are needed. We all get an opportunity to live on this rock that's floating around in the universe. And we get to basically be a part of it. We get to use the resources on it to either do good or do bad. And in all reality, food grows through photosynthesis. The simple truths of the science that you talked about before with some of the stuff that you were just mentioning around health and power, all you have to do is you basically get that mineral from the earth. But the way that the mineral is combined in the earth, like how many tribes do you know where they were banished to a certain reservation until certain folks figured out, oh, that reservation is really valuable. The actual oil that's underneath there does this and this and this. And so now they kick them off and push them to the next one. And what I'm driving at is you can cryptographically identify the land management systems. One world, one earth, one system, where think about it like Wikipedia, but for land management. You got everything. You got a house, you got a fire, you got a property line. Every single modification that's happening in real time is managed by this one system. So I'll give you an example. Go ahead. Were you going to ask something? No?
No.
So imagine a system where you can actually log into it and see. I'm going to go back over to this Hawaiian ecosystem. I'm going to just scroll down side of it. Because land is something that we've all been given the stewardship and opportunity to be able to be a part of it. And like in Fiji, they understand this and they don't sell the land. There's only 11% of the land that's actually sold, free leasehold, so to speak. The rest of it is leased, and that's actually how they can still live from the earth. And the people that want to come lease the land pay a trust. The trust pays the people. But how do all the payments work? How's their transparency? How's their honesty? This provides a system for that. So imagine a land management system where you actually have owner information, parcel information, and maybe a fair market value of other things around it, assessments, the same thing that a normal county would do, but you're actually getting it in such a way where it's cryptographically managed, supported, and identified. So you can't have, when someone passes away, you can't have the states taking over an asset because somebody doesn't claim it. If you look at unclaimed assets per year, hundreds of millions of dollars per state is currently being jacked. And what's happening are the secret combinations or centralized systems are getting more wealthy and competing against the individual. So what it does is it levels the playing field. As people adopt this, they don't get taxed, they don't get controlled, the states can't get involved, and it pulls the family and the individual closer together, because the family and the relationships is what passes it from generation to generation. What I'm showing here is my particular phone, and this family is what links it. So I can actually go into one of my children and say, hey, you're only 12 years old, so the apps that you use, you know, are these apps, and the phone technology or devices that you use are these. And as they get older, that responsibility, you know, the teach youth true and correct principles and then let them govern themselves. It's like, hey, you're 18 now. Those apps, it's all yours. Those sites, it's all yours. Those phones or devices, they're all yours. And then as a parent, as I get older, let's say I'm in my 80s or 70s, it's to the point where my keys, so in other words, I had derived keys to control my kids when they're young. And then as I get older, those derived keys go to my kids as I start passing on, and the assets go generation to generation. So it's going to align families instead of doing what is happening. How many families does the people on this call know when one person in the family dies, the rest of the families just start this infighting mess around, I get this, you get this, and it's just this greed thing. That's one of the tools of the adversaries to say there's greed and control. Whereas one of the things I loved learning inside of the Hawaiian kingdom is there was no ownership, because they understood that this is all a gift. And that's why the kingdom is so valuable in the Hawaiian kingdoms. You know, Kamehameha gave away the actual ownership to Akua. and they were there as stewards to provide protection over it. And that's why you can't go and find something where the Kingdom of Hawaii would actually give an asset to an American ecosystem, because they know they didn't have it to give. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop blabbing now, but hopefully.
Very good. So very, very appreciate fleshing out of everything, and there's a lot more still to be learned. Question with the ITNJ, which we founded in 2015, and has galvanized so many millions of eyeballs around the world. And how do we retain the integrity of the ident that we've already established as a trusted medium to so many people from around the world? How do we retain that ident?
You could do it in two ways. You could either have a full system built for the ITNJ, where it actually logs into your world, so it creates a little login, and then you get the same capabilities as a country. As you know, you could do that, or you could create a massive relationship with the coalition, the Oceanic Coalition, and you could run that, and then have the actual judiciary, or I don't know what the legal tribunal process is that you're talking about. You could have that run through the ITNJ. I don't know. It's up to you, to be honest with you.
Okay, that's great. I just need advisement on this. So we've established the World Hereditary Council as a galvanizing ground or element upon which to which are invited the signature paramount chiefs, hereditary leaders from different nations around the world. For instance, if we take a lead off the United Nations nonsense, oh my God, my bird's come back. I just arrived back today, and this bird comes to my window. You see him there?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Every single time I'm here, this yellow bird, he comes. It's impossible to perch there. And he sits there while I'm in the office. When I leave the country for a month or 2 months, he goes, doesn't come.
Oh, that's sweet.
I just arrived back late last night.
Are you back in Indonesia now?
No. I just arrived right now at Mexico.
Okay, got it. Wow.
I'll be here for 1 month. Fuck's sake, sorry, I threw myself off my own track.
You were talking about the World Hereditary Council.
Thank you. So in order to invite the paramount leaders and sultans and rajas and all the rest of them to a body that's completely neutral, doesn't have a history, doesn't have any controversy or cross-fertilizations, we've established that now and are just about to formalize that midsummer this year. So the WHC, or the World Hereditary Council, in that sense, is to become the arbiter of the oversight of the tribunals. And as we then launch the global campaign, which Tess will be largely driving from the front end, and get these thousands of First Nation peoples from around the world to come forward, go onto your platform, our platform, and onto a predetermined format, good lighting, face to camera, and within the certain criteria, begin to tell the story. So that initiative at the pedestrian level, we are calling Once Upon a Time, ... So the Once Upon a Time initiative. And it's basically just, in a sense, it's two things energetically. One, it's the patriarchy taking the knee to the Eternal Mother and allowing her to resurrect, as is needful now, consciously. And secondly, it is the white skin in that sense, led by the white skin. It is a movement to also hand the stick back to the First Nations and say, we've told the story for the last 500 years, albeit through Vatican crown hegemony and imperial dominion. We did evolve in many ways, and we played with fire, and we largely fucked up. Not entirely. There's been some beautiful things. And here's the stick. So that's energetically what this is really all about. So the World Hereditary Council, tethered to the International Tribunal for Natural Justice's Judicial Commission into the Doctrines of Discovery, is the thing. I would love to have that fully integrated with CLEAR, so that we act as a funnel of eyeballs to bring the world in. I know we can do that. We can bring in so many people from around the world, and then be able to funnel them into the platform that you've created and elucidate those incredibly exciting technologies and elements that you've developed. And I'm good at that. So I'm very happy to. On the Oceanic Coalition, let me just say, first off, love Phil Lane Jr. I'll be joining him next week for 5 days in Palenque as he does the Eagle and Condor big ceremonial thing here with the Mayans. I'm going to join him up there in Palenque.
I actually have a call with him after our call, and I set that up by design because I would like to just continue to build this momentum. So he's already on the same page, but it's how can we have the conversation we're having right now and talk about the coalition, the Oceanic Coalition, and what you're building with the in Tribal National Tribunal?
World Hereditary Council.
So how do we, there you go. So how do we tie that together and then take what he's done with the Eagle and Condor and Four Worlds International, tie that together, and then just bring this manifestation of unity? Because
So that's the question, and that will be answered within a week, because when you're on the call with him, I'm on the call with his protege, Dr. Sky, and his wife, Anahita, who saved Phil's life. And Sky and Anahita, who are the only medical professionals in the world that I'm aware of who have a 100% success rate of walking every single patient out of turbo cancers, they're flying here to join me in Bacalar, and I'm building the first Regenesis Clinic Spa using their technologies and my pharmacopoeia and Russian frequency tech. So Phil's very connected into what the magic we're doing here on the ground in Mexico. When I'm with Phil in a week or so from now for 5 days, Sky and Anahita will be with me. I will make sure that by the end of that 5 days, that question you just put to me is fully satisfied to you and me and Phil.
Well, I was thinking about just having Phil join this call, and literally we just try and vet it out right, like after our call right now, like literally in minutes. Is that, do you not have time?
My problem, Michael, is that I've got a car waiting downstairs and I really am pretty late.
Okay.
And
No worries. Let's just keep going here. I'll jump with him and then we'll plan on reconvening in a week based upon your guidance.
Just to remind him, I'm meeting with Sky and Anahita after this call. He'll love that.
Done. I will. So
Thank you.
What do you want to have action items or objectives for our next meeting, or what were the ahas that you took away from today's meeting?
I and we, Nancy, myself, and Tess need to study the Oceanic Initiative, A to Z, be able to read the whole ambit of what it is, so that I'm informed about how I'm going to then recommend the integration with the WHC and the ITNJ's inquiry and how we move that forward as one unified platform.
Okay. I just dropped in the draft. This is not live, but I just dropped in the chat a draft site. You'll need to use this on a desktop device, not on a mobile device, but you'll be able to.
Why is that?
I don't see anything either.
Oh. No, I'm not getting anything there.
I don't have anything yet either. Yeah.
It went to, it looks like there's a note system.
There it is. There it is. Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Great, Michael. We'll study that, and I'll communicate with Tess, and Nancy will extend this on to the trustees of the ITNJ as well, and round back to you on that.
We've already included some of the organizations that you work with as partners on it. If it doesn't feel right, let us know. But this is a body that it does a different thing than what your two organizations or councils are focused on. It actually pulls in all the different countries that want to use this type of a digital world standard as the future.
Love it. No, that's fine as is. I love that. Thank you.
Done. Well, thank you for your time, Sasha.
You.
The love is there. Appreciate you. And it's wonderful to meet all these beautiful new smiles. I look forward to learning from you and growing with you. And what he talked about around the patriarch taking a knee, mothers are the ones that will actually, and not just mothers, but women are the ones that will actually solve this nightmare that humanity has gotten ourselves into, primarily because of man's choices.
I hold to that. Thanks, Michael.
That's
Much love.
Talk to you later. Kia ora.
Bye. Friends, thank you.
Bye.
God bless. Bye, Mike.
Bye.
Bye-bye.